Alright everyone, Google wants AI systems to control what you see and hear with regards to the reality that you perceive based on the news that you absorb. Literally, they're coming out and saying, well, we're going to start using AI systems to tailor results to people. First, I guess ranking things according to whether the claims there are true or whether the sources are more or less trustworthy, which that opens a huge can of worms. If Facebook tried that, it didn't work. So we'll see if Google can actually get it to work without backfiring, because there are corporatist reasons why they would do that. Number two, and I think more concerning, is the concept of tailoring it based on people's perceived interests, based on, data Google knows about them. You run such a horrible risk of, instead of challenging people's worldviews, propping up instead echo chambers. Now, when Google responds to alt-right content, extreme content or whatever, they come out with an idea, oh, we're going to deliberately interject counterpoints into your search results if you're looking for certain things, because we think you might be radicalized, so we're going to try to counter that. They fundamentally, therefore, they understand the concept of combating echo chambers. The thing is, they don't want to combat the lamestream echo chambers with anything that happens to be independent. You can imagine. Who do you think is going to get priority on these search results? It's going to be who's going to be ranked as trustworthy? CNN, MSNBC, Fox, and groups like that. Because they have more money. It's not because they're actually more true. They simply have more money. They also have larger audiences. Now, here's the problem. The independent media, the uprising alt media of YouTubers and bloggers and people like that, we far outnumber in terms of fans and collective wealth the entire corporate media complex. We far outmaneuver them. But individually, even the strongest among us is still smaller than CNN. Is still smaller than a Fox News. It allows them to pick after people and use various propaganda tactics to try to destroy us. Now, why do you think over the last couple of years they've been laying so much groundwork to try to declare so much of the alt media to be extremist or fanatic in some way? If you're not a political or social extremist, you've probably been labeled a kook, or you've been labeled untrustworthy because you said one thing in the last year that was inaccurate. Meanwhile, they're sitting there lying and showing you lurid war footage all the time and talking about how wonderful war is. That's not considered problematic at all. GM doesn't care if ads run on that police chase. It does care, though, if it runs on a video where you said poo-poo. I see a little bit of hypocrisy there. People need to understand corporations are not moral actors. I saw Spotify kicking R. Kelly off for his like piss fetish stuff. Well, yeah, that's great because under your new terms, yeah, he shouldn't be there. But there are 1,000 other fucking artists too that you're not going to kick off. You're not going to kick off Mick Jagger. You're not going to kick him off despite screwing underage people all the time. You're not going to take David Bowie's stuff down. David Bowie, I think, didn't he take the virginity of a 15-year-old girl at one point? So yeah, you get a lot of stuff like drug use. Drug use is illegal. What hate-filled lyrics? Oh, there's lots of war pigs. Oh, Ozzy Osbourne, bye-bye. Yeah, they're not going to do that. They're not going to actually apply. It's a feel-good corporate situation where if people ramble enough, if enough craptivists tell you that it's offensive, it'll get kicked off. But if no one's really talking about it because they fucking don't care, it won't be. But I guarantee there'll be a lot of heavy metal removed. Yeah, Spotify will be kicking off black metal bands left and right. Black metal, grindcore, certain underground rap. It's an attack on the underground, really, more than anything. This is just, a throwaway. They don't really give a fuck about R. Kelly. When's the last time he was relevant? I don't even know what he sings. Don't know, don't fucking care. When we look at Google, they are going to try to tailor your reality to you. Because you got to understand, when you have corporations, you have a half dozen or so corporations control most human communication that now goes on in the Western world. All right, a handful of private, for-profit, government co-opted and sponsored entities that have ties to Western European politicians and listen to Uncle Sam control most of what you see and hear anyway. Google's basically the gatekeeper of the whole internet. If you're not being, if you're deranked from Google, you don't fundamentally exist anyway for 99% of people who are using the internet. Now, I would say that that's monopolistic. And I would say that when they're trying to tailor your reality by determining what you see, that is a problem. It's a huge problem. It shouldn't be happening. The government at some point will have no choice but to step in. The best thing that we could do is collectively bind them to the Constitution or do something before the government intervenes and makes the internet more expensive and ends up censoring it anyway, which it probably will. It'd be ridiculous. You should render it into a utility like a telephone. You can't tell someone that they can't have telephone access unless they're breaking the law on the telephone. You can't kick them off because they have offensive opinions and said offensive things during a phone call. I think that would be the best way to regard these sites at this point. Bind them to let them be for-profit, let them be independent. Bind them to the First Amendment, bind them to the Fourth, keep government's hands away from it, but bind them to the Constitution. Google's going to rank things according to whether Google finds it trustworthy. Which one do you think Google's going to find more trustworthy? Alt media, you know, even if the same exact things are being said, or a corporation that has billions of dollars in overseas assets and is run by a company that employs 20,000 people. Who the fuck do you think Google's going to put higher in the rankings? Let's say the two articles say basically the same thing, they make the same claims, and here's the other problem. Here's the bigger scope of the problem. Much bigger. When you're talking about objective news, first-hand reporting, we are live at the fire, this is what I see, what is observably true, what the camera's looking at. There's a fire in this apartment. There are people trapped above. You can see them waving down to try to save them and stuff. That's objective. You can determine whether the reporting on that particular event is true. But most of what you see in the news isn't even news. It's analysis, bias, and speculation. Look at this video, for example. The objective core of what I'm telling you is that Google is intending to manipulate search results for news and tailor what you see based on interest and perceived trustworthiness. Google has come out and said this. It is objectively true that they have. It is objectively true that that's what they intend to do. Everything else I'm telling you, though, is basically just my opinion when it all boils down to it. It is my opinion it will create echo chambers, ideological, less penetrable ideological echo chambers. I consider that dangerous. That's my opinion. It is my opinion that it is likely to be misused to favor corporate media over independent media. Now, this may be a sensible thing to say, based on 10 years of historical evidence, of attempts to manipulate what people see and hear, and it's based on the very concept, hey, corporations are for profit, therefore they're probably going to look out for their profits. I don't think that they're going to shove CNN down in the rankings when CNN gives them millions of dollars and has a major presence on their platforms. I just don't think that's going to happen. That may be sensible, but it's still just my opinion. Could be wrong. It's biased. It's biased because I'm part of the alt media. Yeah, obviously I don't like the concept that the corporate media is going to start shoving the heads of people that I associate with underwater. Now, I may not be ranked in the news rankings there. I'm not going to show up on Google News. I'll show up on Google Video Search. But I'm not going to show up on the news aggregator because of the format, because of the way in which I actually do things. But others that I know might be. H.A. Goodman might be. InfoWars might be. You know, Paul Joseph Watson, I've talked to him. I like his material. He writes articles that get aggregated there. I doubt I'll see much more from him on there. I've stopped using Google as a news source because of things like this. And this is just the next step. The first step was just algorithmic manipulation in general and kicking a few sites off of there entirely, like saying, well, we don't consider you to be news, therefore you can't appear on the news page. Search results, yeah, maybe you're showing up on YouTube, you made a video, but you're not going to be in the news results. It's going to come to the point, I think, where Google, though, overstretches. What I'm really worried about is Google imploding and leaving such a vast vacuum, in a hole in the internet, that it can't even be readily filled for some time and causes fucking chaos. I would think Congress at some point should be worried about that too, if only for the pragmatic purposes of, oh, this private corporation might make a mistake and accidentally the whole internet. Like, oh yeah, Google's fucked up. Its search feature is not working right now. Well, shit, you know, a lot of other search engines are tied to Google too. They're just a reworked version of Google's search engine anyway. Which, by the way, is a terrible, shitty idea. There are sites. If you use NoScript or something, you'll see that Google's tag manager or whatever it is, a lot of Google scripts run on a lot of supposedly totally independent websites. I don't think that there's any alt text site that I use that doesn't have at least one Google script running on it at all times. You know, because it's more convenient, it's just easier for them to use Google, I guess, for certain aspects of their websites. Well, that's wonderful, maybe. But you're not fully independent if you're doing that. You should probably consider pulling together to figure out your own way. Get our own search engine. There should be a de-manipulated libertarian search engine. We also need a minarchist web registrar that'll only kick sites off for blatant criminal activity. That's what we really need. We need to protect ourselves more. Alt tech is extremely vulnerable. And a crowdfunding platform. Something that doesn't rely upon PayPal and Stripe, I guess. You know, I have no problem with their services, but other people have had problems with them, yeah. No, I don't want Google telling me that I should see and hear. I want to be able to determine that for myself. So, you know, it's kind of necessary when, you know, I make half my living doing this. Well, yeah, so that news story that I really would have loved to cover, now I just won't see it. It'll never be well known, you know, even if it's highly pertinent. Some major government scandal, the person gives $1 million to Google and says, cover this up. Don't you think that this could be a problem with regards to government corruption? Now, this is, okay, let's say that you're like, you are yourself a conspiracy theorist. The conspiracy is the U.S. government never does anything wrong. Everyone else does. Okay, what about other governments? Covering up dissident activity. Covering up reports of their own scandals. Wouldn't that be a problem? They have money. What, you think the Kremlin can't buy Google off if they give them enough rubles? It's a for-profit corporation. They can take that money and they can do basically anything. After all, I keep being told they're a private corporation. They can do whatever they want. What if Google came under Russian influence? Would you say that then? No, you'd probably be quite angry. Maybe if Congress wants to declare these sites to be public utilities, just claim that Russia is involved in trying to get them to manipulate algorithms. The American public, 99% of them will just gobble up that propaganda, and then they'll be in favor of it. So hey, Rand Paul, you need to inject that into public consciousness. Raise the specter of Russian influence over Google or Amazon or Facebook or whatever. I mean like direct monetary influence, not these bullshit Facebook ads. That'd be a funny thing to see. That's about all. Peace out.